Hey guys. So, I'm going to put a question to you. My nails are too long to work the slides. Have you guys ever thought about what kind of mark you'll leave on the world? Have you ever taken time to think, am I going to be remembered? Am I going to leave a legacy? I used to think about that all the time. I still do, but particularly when I still worked in television. I used to think, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow and I die, what have I left behind? Some TV shows, some commercials, some video games. So what? I wanted to do something bigger. I wanted my life to count. So 5 years ago, I started a business. I became a social entrepreneur. And now I know that when I go, I've left something behind that I can be really proud of. And I've realized that social entrepreneurship is actually a really valuable tool for people to build lives that have meaning for them or make them feel passionate and fulfilled. So today I'm going to talk about a little bit of my journey and my 5 steps that I would recommend to you to start a business of your own, a social entrepreneur business. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't start born an entrepreneur. I actually worked in TV, particularly professional sports, mixed martial arts, totally obvious, I know. And I would work with fighters, interview fighters, watch a lot of fights, hire ring girls, and a lot of my friends would tell me, Lisa, you have my dream job. You make all this money, and you work in something so cool. And I would think, I guess, but I felt like something was missing. And of course, all that changed in 2010. By then, I had my very own minivan full of compost. I was working 2 jobs and making in the low 4 figures a year. And my friends and family and loved ones would say to me all the time, Lisa, what are you doing with your life? And I'd think to myself, you know what? I'm living the dream. I'm an entrepreneur, and I was really loving it. I felt excited about life. So I think it's really important to make the distinction between what's an entrepreneur and what's a social entrepreneur. Well, a social entrepreneur makes a business that makes money just like everyone else, but they're following something known as the triple bottom line, and that's made up of people, planet, and profits. And what they're looking to do, aside from make money, is they're trying to find solutions or opportunities to better people's lives or better the community or the environment. And there's a lot of feel-good, warm fuzzies associated with that, but there's more than that, too. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics estimated that green job growth was actually 4 times higher than all other industries combined in 2010 and 11. So green jobs, green businesses, social entrepreneurs, yes, it's a win for the planet and the community, but it's also really powerful for the economy. Now, for me, I'd always had a dream of being an entrepreneur, but I came from arts. So I thought, I don't have the right skills. I thought I needed an MBA or a background in finance in order to build a business. I've since learned that that's not true, and it's actually much faster to just hire an MBA than get one yourself, so write that down for later. But at the time, I didn't think that I could do it, so I put that dream on the back burner. And I don't know if I ever would have taken the chance at starting a business if I hadn't had an unpleasant experience when I was working on the fight show. So I was scheduled to go on a shoot. It was a big deal for me, a big opportunity. And at the last minute, my boss replaced me with a male coworker. And I was really disappointed, so I went and I asked him, why did you do that? And he said to me, it's no place for a lady. And for him, he felt like that was enough of a justification to take away a big opportunity from me. And obviously that sucked a lot. And I was very, very disappointed, and I was really angry. But it ended up being a really amazing catalyst for me. It ended up becoming one of the best moments of my life, because at that point I said, you know what, forget this. I'm going to start a business. But like most people, I had the passion, I had the dream, and I had the drive, but I had 0 ideas. I did not know how I was going to go from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. It seemed so far apart. But luckily, at the time, I was reading a book called The 4-Hour Workweek. And it's written by a guy called Tim Ferriss. Highly recommend it. And one of the things that he talks about all the time is this idea of reverse engineering your life. So you start with a goal, and you work backwards to achieve it. So his philosophy is you don't look for the business first. You start by thinking, what do you want your life to look like? And then you find the right business to support that. So that's what I did. I ended up writing what I called my life list. And I put everything that I wanted my life to have on it. I wanted to do a business that was positive. I wanted it to be something that was with the environment. I wanted it to be something where I could volunteer, I could scale it. So what you want to do is thing that you want. And this becomes your master checklist when you're searching for business ideas. And it's actually a really powerful tool because when you're brainstorming business ideas, it's easy to fall down the rabbit hole. I remember particularly when my former partner and I were looking for ideas, we had this one that we thought was a winner, and it was called Cougar Cruises. And the idea was it was going to be Sex in the City on the sea. And we were convinced that this was going to be the best idea. And we started working on it. We were real pumped about it. And then all of a sudden, we took out our life list, and we realized, Cougar Cruises doesn't check off any of the boxes. So I have to say I am grateful that I did this exercise, because if I'd put all my eggs in the Cougar basket, I don't think I would be talking to you guys today. So you want to get your life list, and then you want to spend some time thinking about an idea. It took us about a year to come up with the actual idea of Growing City. It takes some time, but we were very lucky. We ended up going to the beautiful Savory Island off the coast of BC. It's pristine, it's tiny, and they have this policy that whatever you bring onto the island, you take it off with you. So they have mandatory composting. Composting, of course, when you take your food scraps and you put it in the compost bin to turn it into soil instead of in the garbage and sending it to the landfill. I had never composted before. I grew up in the city. I thought that's like stuff you do on a farm. Never even heard of it. But I remember at the end of the week with this big group of people, we left with this tiny little bag of garbage. Inspired. But when I went back to the office, I started feeling really guilty because our garbages were just full of waste, organic waste, paper towels, coffee grinds. I didn't know what to do about it. It wasn't like I was going to bring it to my apartment. So I went online to see if I could find a business that would do a corporate composting service. And I couldn't find one in Canada or the US or even in Europe. So I realized, hey, there's a need for this. And then we pulled out our life list, and surprise, surprise, compost checked off all the boxes. So that's how we knew that we had a winning idea. So step 2, make sure whatever business ideas you're looking for, you try it up against your life list to make sure you're building the right business for you. Now the next thing that's really important is you want to find a way, step 3, to incorporate recurring revenue into your business model. And this is really important. Recurring revenue is when your clients pay you on a regular basis, so for us that's monthly, but they pay you on a regular basis for the lifetime of their client life, not their human life. You want to make sure that they're paying you all the time, and this is really valuable because Bloomberg estimates that 8 out of 10 businesses fail in their first 18 months of operation. Obviously, it's a pretty intimidating figure. So you want to help yourself out. Having recurring revenue is going to make it so much easier for you to grow because every month you're not starting your sales at 0, you're building on top of last month's sales. So you can see the little happy red arrow goes up over time, and every year you're building on the year before. And this is great for a few reasons. Yes, because you can grow your revenue faster, but also because you can project revenue and build budgets more easily. And if you ever want to sell your business, you're much more attractive to potential buyers. So remember, recurring revenue is sexy, and you want to put it in your business. The next step was my personal least favorite, and that is you have to either keep your day job or get a part-time job. You have to find alternate income coming from somewhere else. And the reason that you have to do that is because, like we said, most businesses fail because they run out of money. And if most owner-operators are trying to draw a salary out of the business too soon, you're going to fail. You're already in a very stressful situation. And if you need that rent money, you're going to be making really short-term decisions. When you're building a business, you need to be thinking really long-term. And your little baby business is weak and fragile, and it needs all the cash it can to form a really solid foundation. So for me, that meant getting a job at a nightclub. This one. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a tray in there with an arm, and that's me at a Steve Aoki concert that night. And so what I did was I got a job at night so I could work on my business during the day. And I would get up at 7:30 in the morning, and I would pick up compost till 5 o'clock at night. I'd come home, have a nap, have some Mr. Noodles because I was poor, go to the club at 9, and then work until 3 or 4 in the morning, and then get up the next day, do it all over again. Needless to say, I did not love it at all. But not taking salary out of my business for the first year ended up being incredibly important, because the next year we could get real trucks, so no more minivan. We could afford to hire a business consultant to help us streamline our operation. We could actually hire real staff, which was the best day ever. And the thing that was really important for us is that we were bootstrapping everything. We were composting before it was cool. The banks didn't want to give us a penny. I didn't own a home, so they didn't care about me. And we were a brick and mortar business, so at the time, VCs weren't running and knocking on our minivan door trying to throw money inside of it. So whatever we wanted to spend, we had to earn first. Old school bootstrapping. So having this part-time job allowed us to grow so much more quickly. But the thing that I find really interesting looking back on it, the biggest challenge for me in taking that job was not that it was tiring. It was because my ego hated it. And I learned a really important lesson. Like, I had come from this world where I was a senior editor. I worked directly with directors and executive producers, and they listened to me, and I liked that. And I went from that world to this one, where suddenly I was just a server, and people treated me with almost zero respect. And I became really resistant to it. My ego got in the way. And I learned something really important, which is that when you're building a business, oftentimes you're going to have to do things that you really hate doing. And it becomes even harder when you have that little voice in the back of your mind saying, I'm too good for this. This is beneath me. And for me, I didn't want to learn how to drive a dump truck. I didn't want to learn how to do bookkeeping, and I definitely didn't want to work there at night. My ego hated it even more, but I had to do it in order to achieve my further goal. And I'm reminded of this awesome quote. That's for later. An awesome quote by Thomas Edison, and he says, opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and it looks like work. And that's so true. I love that quote. And it's very true. And if your ego is getting in the way, it becomes a roadblock. It makes it even harder for you to accomplish the things that you need to do to get to that next level. So that brings us to step number 5, the most important. You have to mentally prepare yourself for this journey to become a social entrepreneur. That means kicking ego to the curb, yes. And it also means dealing with the next thing, which is fear. So I'm going to go backwards. And this is obviously a Dune reference. If you haven't read Dune, I recommend it. I had to throw it in because it was awesome. But one of the things that they say in Dune all the time is that fear is the mind killer. And they mean that, when you get into a fearful point of mind, you lose your mental powers, you stop making good decisions. And you're going to have to embrace fear as an entrepreneur because you feel it all the time. You're going out on your own. It's you against the world. The buck stops here. So you got to get used to being afraid. But the thing to remember is that you can't kill fear, you can't squash it, and you can't ignore it. The only way to really deal with fear is you have to accept it and then keep going. You can't let it become a roadblock. One of the dangers of fear, too, is that if you don't acknowledge it, if you don't deal with it, it can very quickly turn into doubts. And doubts are incredibly dangerous because doubt will paralyze you. You start doubting your vision, you start doubting your ideas, you start doubting what you're doing, and all of a sudden you have no more ability to continue forward. And I remember a very specific moment where I became overwhelmed with fear and doubt. I was emptying out the compo van. This was in our first year. We would come up to the composting facility and we would haul the bags of compost out of the back. And the compostable bags were too new for the facility, so they wouldn't take them. So we had to rip a hole in the bag and shake out all the compost. And it was the middle of the summertime, so you can imagine the aroma. It was unique. And so we were shaking out the bags, and, it was getting all over me. And suddenly I just became overwhelmed. I thought, oh, my goodness, what am I doing? I could hear all the voices of the people that had said to me, Lisa, this is a terrible idea. You left your career to do this, composting, and you crazy? You're giving up your life. You're ruining your life. And in the moment, I was just freaking out. But the thing to remember is that fear and doubt are part of the process. You just have to accept them. Let's see if I can make my slides work to the next one. As the wonderful Robert Hughes says, he says, the greater the artist, the greater the doubt. Perfect confidence is granted to the less talented as a consolation prize. And this is a beautiful quote because it's very, very true. The thing that differentiates successful people from unsuccessful is not that successful people never feel fear and doubt. The difference is they don't let it stop them. They find a way to move forward. They find a way to continue onwards. And that's what we did. In our first year, we moved over $100,000 of service in that little minivan. We doubled it the next. And then all of a sudden, Metro Vancouver announced that they were banning organics from the landfill, and our service was now mandatory for everyone. And the best part was that suddenly all those voices that had said to me, Lisa, composting, terrible idea, were the first ones to turn around and say, Lisa, composting, amazing idea. I told you it would work. And that was the best validation I could have. I loved it. And I never looked back. So, you guys, you've got your life list. You've got your idea, your business idea. You've found a way to incorporate recurring revenue into your model. You're making money from somewhere else. And you've mentally prepared yourself to become an entrepreneur. It's time to take a risk. Imagine how the world will change if more people like you and me build businesses that are driven by more than just profit. Imagine how your life will change when you wake up every day knowing that today I'm contributing something of real value to my community. And imagine how amazing it will feel to know that when you're gone, you'll be remembered. So, go home and think about your life. Think about your legacy. What do you want it to be? What do you want people to know about you when you're gone? And write down your life list, take a chance on you, and become a social entrepreneur. Thank you.